So, big man, what has been the biggest obstacle in your career, whether that's physical or mental, or anything that you've faced in terms of adversity that you've had to overcome, and how did you manage to overcome it? Big question to start.
I think one of the biggest obstacles in my career was back in 2014. And I was just sort of getting into my professional career. I was still working full time as a truck mechanic. I still had a door company, so I ran security in a lot of Stoke-on-Trent as well. So I was a very busy guy. I was working 80 plus hours a week. And I was competing in Strongman, spending all my money on a hobby, so to say, doing Strongman competitions at the weekend, all my food and supplements and training. It was a very, very tough period in my life. And I went to a competition. It was the World Deadlift Champs at Leeds, and I pulled a world record deadlift. It was 462 kilos for a world record, 461, sorry. And on that day, you had to lower the weight to the floor after you'd done the lift. So you lift the weight from A to B, you get the lockout from the referee, you got to lower it down. And I let go of the bar, so I dropped the bar, I was disallowed the lift. And the prize money for getting the world record that day was, I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot of money now, but it was £10,000. And at the time, to me, that was a lot of money, working full time and everything would have been a big break for me. And I didn't get any money for the lift. So I did the world record, and because I dropped it, I was disallowed the lift. And I got back home and I said to the wife, I'm quitting Strongman, I'm done. I'm sick of spending all my money, all my time, all my effort, killing myself day in, day out, to earn pennies and even lose money on a sport that there's no money in. So I decided that day I was going to quit Strongman, and it was actually my wife that convinced me, sat me down and said, like, whether you got the lift or not, you pulled a world record deadlift from the floor and you prove to the world that you're one of the best in the world at what you do, i.e. Strongman. If you can pull a world record off the floor, then you can go on and win the world's strongest man. And it was that weekend. So that massive loss, that massive failure, a lot of people would have walked away and thought, stop it, that's it, I'm done. I decided to make that as an opportunity to tell myself to go full time. And that weekend I quit my job. I started the process to sell my security business. And that was the weekend I became a full-time professional strongman, the sort of middle of 2014. And that's when it all began, and pretty much, was it 3 years later, I won the world's strongest man. So, turning that massive negative, that adversity, into a massive positive, for me, that was a very hard time in my life. And obviously, even making the decision to quit my job and sell the door business, it was a very worrying time because, I didn't have much money in the bank. I've got mortgage and bills to pay. So I had to go through all that process of becoming a professional strongman on a very, very low amount of money, and thank God it paid off. Yeah. I think that failure made me, and I realised that over the years that you've got to have these little failures in life, you've got to have these little negatives, you have the setbacks to make you get up and come back bigger and stronger. And I've worked with a lot of psychiatrists over the years, and one of them said to me something that stuck with me for the rest of my career, and it was about losing competitions, and I couldn't take losing anything in life. But this psychiatrist sat me down and was like, right, but what if I told you were only 12 competitions, you were only 12 losses away from achieving your dream of becoming the world's strongest man? And that's when it hit me, that you've got to have the losses, you've got to have the failures, you've got to go through that process to be the best. No champion is born, from birth a champion. You've got to work hard for it and put your heart and soul into something. That's what that failure taught me.
It's just like iceberg theory, isn't it? People don't see all the that comes underneath. They only see the peak of your career. One of the things that you mentioned there was about negatives that you've been through. And we've asked this question to a couple of people today. It's about criticism, and obviously in the public eye and social media, you see and get a lot of it. How do you deal with that from a mindset and mental point of view?
I mean, criticism is something that anybody gets. You can be anyone in life and you get criticism of somebody. I just see it as fuel to the fire. If you're being criticised, then you're doing something right, in my opinion. End of the day, you got to pick a path, you got to pick a goal, and you got to stick to it. People are going to criticise along the way. People are going to say you're doing things wrong. People are going to say you're acting wrong. People are going to say it can't be done. People are going to say it's impossible. You got to ignore those people. You got to take all that negativity, put it on that fuel for the fire, and use it as energy to push forward and achieve your goals and become somebody. If I tend to ignore it. Obviously I see it, but I just tend to ignore it. I just a little shrug. End of the day, it says more about them than it does about you. If they're going to take time out of their day to come on and call you names and try and drag you down, it says more about their life than it does your own, and that's how I see it. So let them carry on.
You mentioned there about your goals. Obviously, since finishing Strongman, you've gone on to do some different challenges, one more recently being boxing. Did you find like once you finished Strongman there was like a hole there that you needed to fill with like a next challenge and something to aspire to do? And is there any other challenges that you feel you would like to take on over your career the next couple of years?
I mean, challenges for me is my life. It's something I've done from a very young age, set challenges. Very few people know that, well, probably a lot of people do know now because I never shut up about it, but I was a national champion swimmer when I was a young teenager. I was on the GB Olympic squad, so I was basically on the GB squad, junior Olympic team to go to the Olympics. And even then, I was obsessed with being the best in my sport. Moved into bodybuilding, that didn't quite, suit my frame. Moved into Strongman, set some enormous goals in Strongman, achieved that. And then, after that, it's like the big question mark: what do you do after you achieve such a pinnacle in your life? And it's well documented actually that you get these Olympic gold medalists, these world champions, they have this massive high in life, and then the next day it's back down to reality. You're back home, you're doing the dishes, you're taking your kids to school, you know better than everybody else. And I guess for me that's what I'm always seeking. I'm always seeking that euphoria. I'm always seeking that thrill of being the best in the world or something. And after Worlds it was a tough thing to do, to sort of step back from the sport and take a different path and go down the, doing TV shows, doing endorsements, doing meet and greets, doing sort of lectures in a way around the country, and that became my path. I had a great time, and then obviously the boxing match came up, and I saw that as a nice challenge, and it was a nice bit of payback for somebody. And now it's just resetting the goals again, getting back into the TV stuff, and just resetting the goals, getting back into training now. So I've always set myself little goals. For me now, it's just about, I've got goals to sort of do X amount of TV shows, get the profile up there, and just ride the wave on the back of the World's Strongest Man title, really. And that was my plan all along.
How did you find that transition? Because obviously it's not the most natural path, is it? From like, I suppose if you look at the start of your career, from running a dormant firm to then being on the other side of the camera, it's not something that comes natural to people to just be able to jump in front of stuff. I mean, if people watch your content, you're pretty natural doing, you're comfortable doing content and speaking in front of camera. What would your advice be to other people who potentially want to document more of their journey and what they're doing and get more comfortable being on the other side of the camera?
Transitioning into the sort of PR world, so to say, and doing TV shows, it's something that came natural to me. I've always had this boisterous nature of just being yourself. I grew up with two older brothers, always punching and kicking me up. I was punched and kicked up, I wasn't brought up. And I think, I worked in a garage. I worked as a mechanic for 12 years, I think it was. I was a doorman, security guard on nightclubs and pubs. So I've been out there and I've experienced the real life, and I've took the smacks on the jaw and I've given them as well. And I think that teaches you a lot in life. And I think that's why I'm quite relatable. I'm not someone that's been handed a gold trophy and sort of handed the success. I've had to work my way up, and I've done my 9-to-5 job, and I've worked 80 hours a week, and I've nearly killed myself, and I've struggled to pay my mortgage. I've been through all that. I think that's why I think I'm a bit more relatable to the people, and come a bit more attachable, I think is the right word, is because I'm just like everybody else in this room. At the end of the day, I have to sit down and take like everybody else. I'm no different than anybody. So that's what I enjoy. Not taking but I enjoy being myself and just portraying myself on camera, and people seem to enjoy the real Eddie Hall.